Hello everybody, it's Snap. You can check me out both on Twitch and YouTube with that username. And today I'll be teaching you how to build a deck like a top 50 player. The point of this video will be to teach you kind of my process to building decks and how you can build these really efficient decks by answering certain question cards are asking you and by optimizing around your key cards. The point of this is I really want to allow you guys to build decks, not only myself, and build decks efficiently. And when you come up with a vision or imagination, or you want to make something that is outside of the purview of what I usually cover, you can make it yourself, and you will be able to do this with efficient tools that will make your deck feel better, and just you'll be able to achieve with whatever your imagination can come up with. That's what I want you to be able to do with this video. And for those of you who don't know me particularly well, I'm usually like a top 10 player. When I'm coasting along, it's like top 30, top 25. So I am very good at like finding these small optimizations in decks and like all that. And basically I want to help you guys be able to find that as well. So for this video, I will be going under the context of Galacta just got nerfed and Surfer is my favorite deck. So I want to build a new Surfer deck with the new cards coming in mind. And I will go through that thought process of how I even identify new cards and what they are asking of me to build efficient decks. So the first question you have to ask to yourself with the new Galacta nerf is Galacta worth it? Or is the next best thing now better than it? And in my opinion, the answer to that question is Galacta is not worth it. Gwenpool, when built around, will be better. So immediately I made a deck building decision. I'm removing Galacta, I'm putting Gwenpool. Now, immediately, I want to go into either two directions. Well, first I need to identify what the other build around card is. Silver Surfer, basic enough. Like, these aren't real. Silver Surfer, adding to a Silver Surfer deck, it's not really a real deck building question. Adding Gwenpool was a real deck building question that I answered. Okay, so now that we have that answer, that is the first step to building an efficient deck like a top 50 player. Identify the cards you have to build around. So now what's the question Galacta, and why is Gwenpool better than Galacta? Gwenpool is better than Galacta because she just puts up more raw numbers now, and she have more procs than Galacta now as well. She puts up more numbers, she has more procs. What's the downside compared to Galacta that we need to optimize around so that Gwenpool can reach her maximum potential? She gives random power to random cards, so we have to maximize the power that she does give. So on average, at least two of the hits will be equal to Galacta, but a high will be higher. So the deck building question this kind of asks you of is have a lot of scalars. So the answer we will have to put into a deck is have a lot of scalars. So immediately, how do we answer that? Brood, Captain Carter, Human Torch, the new card that's coming out. And the other way we answer that is an already existing card in Sebastian Shaw. So what did I just do there? It was very simple. Gwenpool is asking you to have a lot of scalars. And what scalars does Surfer really like? These 3-drops that double power. Double power when they're buffed. Shaw is easy, he double power when he's buffed. Torch literally double power when he's buffed. Shaw effectively double power when he buffs, but it's at a +2 margin, not really a true double. And then Carter triples it as long as cards are behind her, and Brood triples it as long as you have enough space. So we've answered that deck building question, and now we have another deck building question that comes out of the cards we've added because we added the scalars off of the cards that we are building around. So we answered Gwenpool's question, and then we came up with a new set of questions. How do we optimize for Sebastian Shaw, Torch, Captain Carter, and Brood? What do all these like high volumes of buff cards? So how do we pump some more buff cards in here? You know what is a really good solution to that? We add Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic, first steps. He asks the same question that Galacta does effectively. He provides a little bit of ramp, which Surfer really likes, but on top of that, he asks the same question Galacta asks of you, is he's going to give you random power buffs. You really want it to be hitting good targets, so having a high propensity of good targets will be good for you. In the same way Galacta is good, Mr. Fantastic is good. So now this is an overlapping card that asks the same questions. These are generally really good cards to include in your deck. On top of that, we can say, okay, what's another good card that maybe, like Mr. Fantastic, can be a replacement to Mr. Fantastic when I don't draw him, and that's really good to draw early? Surge. Surge immediately. Surge asks a unique deck building question in of herself, though. So now we have, what we are saying here is Mr. Fantastic and Surge will be our ramp core. So we'll build our curve around Mr. Fantastic and Surge. Yeah, there's not too much considerations here. Usually I would do a long consideration on making sure the curve makes sense with the with the ramp, but in Surfer, it's kind of a solved curve. If you have ramp 2 drops, basically what you want to play is a 2, and a third 2. Then you want to play like 8. Yeah, then you want to play 8 3 drops and a 4 drop. It is a solved curve. You might need to solve it yourself. Otherwise, that's doing a lot of math. That will be outside of the purview. But basically, how you do that is you just make sure you have enough cards and you have enough draw consistency. So realistically, whenever you hit your specific breakpoints you want to hit at every point in the curve, you're hitting them consistently. For the case of Surfer, it is a solved curve, and I will just be following the curve I have solved in previous decks. And we'll just be following that as well because this curve doesn't need any special adjustment. Surge asks a unique question in of itself now. Now we have three cards that are asking unique questions. We've solved Galactus question. We've solved Fantastic question in the same way, and we've solved the Scalers question by adding enough buff cards. Surge has an additional question. We want cards we can play on any turn, basically, and not be super mad about it. So we have to consider that in the future. We won't be answering that question immediately. I think a more pertinent question is, who's our third 2 drop? And that's a very easy question to answer, which I want to go to that immediately, is what are the questions that, notably Captain Carter and Human Torch ask the same question. They ask you to fill lanes. So Surfer's asking you to fill lanes. What's a card that is better than any other card at filling lanes? You could consider Fenris, maybe consider Herbie, maybe consider Rhino, but not really. You can't consider Merlin because he doesn't fill efficiently. Maybe you can consider Mercury because he can move, which is effectively a fill. But there is one standout card. It is Sam Wilson, who does both. He's a 2 drop. He moves. He also just fills lane automatically. It is something this deck really wants. And then, look, we built out our entire low curve now. So now we've had our power shell. We've answered enough questions. And so far, we have one question that actually just is a rule. We need 3 drops. We don't mind playing on 3. If we want to play something late, ideally, we can play it early and not be super mad about it, but we would prefer to play it late. And how do we answer that question? We've already basically answered that question a lot. But how do we answer that question in the finale? Is we basically restrict our last 3 slots, which I will consider tech slots, to be tech slots that we have to usually tempo out, so proactive tech slots. I'm looking at this list and immediately I have a problem. Shadow King, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, there are techable cards in here that might be annoying, and we're relying on like a Carter to win a lane. We're relying on a Shaw not to get shanged. There's all these tech decks in my mind right now. Immediately a problem's tech decks. A secondary problem to that question is, how do we do a combo deck? We are like a pseudo combo deck. We are comboing off double and we're doing good shit, but I don't think we always go over the top of combo decks. How do we go over Hela? How do we go over like a Kid Omega deck? So I think the solution to that is, and like connecting all those dots, the solution to that is just Cosmo. I came up with a set of decks I think would be problematic, and I want a win condition for that. I think Cosmo will help me have a win condition over tech decks or over some of these slower but really explosive combo decks. I think Cosmo's there. What is Cosmo asking me? Usually I need 3 drops I can play under Cosmo, and that's what it's asking me. I want Scalers I can play under Cosmo. Brood does not fit that. Carter fits it. Human Torch fits it. Sebastian Shaw fits it. We're fine with Gwenpool and Cosmo. I don't think they will clash too hard. We have to play around Surge, but there's not too many things we have to play around. We have to play around Surge for a bit, but I'm fine with that. I think ultimately I'm fine with that. So bringing back to tech cards, I'm not entirely sure. I just want Cosmo to fit there, and I also need to be able to beat mid-range decks in maybe another unique way. And I also want something that works well with locations. Immediately my mind goes to the GOAT himself, the card that just the gift that keeps on giving in honestly a bunch of decks, Juggernaut. Juggernaut also, notably, we have inbuilt Cosmo as a solution to a problem. Juggernaut Cosmo is a combo that has been a combo for a long time. Juggernaut and Cosmo in the same deck is just really good, and they both solve unique problems, and they're just good together. And I think because of that situation, I think these are the tech cards we want. Now the last question is, how do I want to solve this last thing, and what does the deck need remaining? So I have Torch I really want to play early. Shaw I don't mind playing early. I don't mind playing Carter early. I don't mind playing Cosmo early. Honestly, I want another card I can play early. Don't mind playing late. I want another card that fits with Surge. I think Juggernaut doesn't fit with Surge perfectly. Cosmo fits with Surge fine. So I want a card that like I really, really like with Surge. Or like just really don't mind research. I think Copycat's that. I think Copycat's also a tech card where I think there's a bit of ego in here, where I think this deck is solid enough. We'll see a significant amount of play, especially with Torch coming out, and especially with Fantastic coming out. There's like a lot of good hits that Copycat are coming out with the new cards. I think Copycat's to be a good tech card against new cards. And I think Copycat generally techs against its own deck. If I'm playing in a mirror, I really want Copycat in my deck, so I will be placing Copycat in the deck. So now that's how a top 25 player solves problems. They ask the questions, they solve the questions with answers, and then they answer the new questions that come up. So let's go over the process one more time, and then I will end off the video. So the first process we did was we put Surfer in our deck, and we put the first process we did was Surfer we knew was in the deck. We asked, was Galacta worth it, or was there a build around card we could build around efficiently that would be better? And then the answer to that was Gwenpool is better. So with that in mind, we put Surfer and Gwenpool in our deck. From there, we asked, what is Gwenpool asking us? Gwenpool is asking us, yes, she's inefficient in applying buffs to specific things, but she's the most efficient in applying buffs to just things. So we want a lot of things that buffs can be applied to. From there, we put 4 scalers in. We put the scalers that multiply power because we wanted to commit to a buff style list. We put Brood, Carter, Human Torch, and Sebastian Shaw. They are just the only 4 cards available that are playing this buff style. So from there, we already had 6 cards from asking one question. From those 6 cards, a new question arrived is, I don't think Surfer and Gwenpool are enough as your buff engine. We need a stronger buff engine. So we added Fantastic on top of that to the buff engine, answering a question of, yes, we just dedicated 4 slots to scalers. We need more ways to scale these scalers. Fantastic's one of the solutions. And then we said, I kind of like that 2-drop slot to have another similar card to Fantastic. Is there a similar card to Fantastic? Yes or no? There was a similar card to Fantastic, which was Surge. Sometimes it will be harder to answer that deck building question. However, this time it wasn't that hard. And sometimes the answer might be no, and you might need to make a concession there. Here, we did not need to make a concession. So from there, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, there's nothing wrong with making concessions. Sometimes you just have to do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've came up with 8 cards already. And then we considered we have 2 specific scalers that are really asking us to fill a location. There's not any 2-drop I'm in love with, so we added Sam Wilson as a solution to some of our strongest scalers. So we've added 9 cards total so far, just by asking the question of, what does Gwenpool want? Gwenpool wants scalers. What does scalers want? Scalers want buff cards. What other buff cards can we add? Okay. What are these buff cards asking us is now the question. Surge is asking us to play in our tech slots, proactive tech slots that we don't mind playing early, and that will still do something. We don't really want to play like a rogue where we need a specific target. We want stuff that will be continuous effects, basically, or that we can kind of manipulate value from, like a Juggernaut. So from there, we answering that question on what are the 3 tech cards that can do that. I thought Red Guardian was a consideration on my mind. It didn't end up coming into fruition. I thought Copycat was a card we could put there. And then just a proactive tech card that's good against specific decks and could really, really, really have a very high ceiling, but sometimes you won't hit that ceiling, and that's fine. I think the power engine will support not hitting that ceiling. We said tech decks are a problem and some combo decks are a problem, so we added Cosmo there. He's also a proactive tech card. He fit everything. And we said, what's a good combo piece with Cosmo? Juggernaut's a good combo piece with Cosmo. What's another thing that will just help us beat a general amount of decks and some other combo decks that kind of need to be playing in a single lane? And that's Juggernaut. So we've answered all those questions in that simple manner, and that's how I think you can build like a top 50 player. Is you start off with your starting point, you build from there, you ask more questions based on what the cards are asking you to do, and from there you fill out your slots continuously until it makes one cohesive package. So all in all, a little quick summary of this entire video is, start off with your core cards, and then ask the question of what is the card asking you to do, and then from there, do what the card's asking you to do. And then do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and then fill out your deck, and see if the deck makes sense. If the deck doesn't make sense, maybe you asked the wrong question, go back and see what you might have asked wrong, and then fill it out in a new way. And I think this is how you can create like this really, really strong list that can make your idea come to fruition, but it's a slow process that you really have to serve the cards. And I think that's ultimately the key takeaway here is, you're in service of the cards you're not creating a deck for yourself. You have to kind of serve the cards if you want to optimize decks. You have to be somebody who is willing to make concessions on what the card's asking you and fulfill those concessions based off of what they're saying they want you to do. Because you can't control what they are going to do. You have to create a deck in relationship to what they're asking you to do and answering their questions in the best way you can.